And you know what's funny about that? Like, really just not really thinking about it. Like, as kids, you wrestle around with your parents and stuff, right? And my dad used to always do that move. And I never like realized what it meant, what it done. Oh no. At least we know the audio works.
Ah, okay. Now we have video. Sorry about that, folks. I forgot to do one part.
We're live, pal.
Okay. Now we have video. Sorry about that, folks. And then making sure that I can hear you. One part.
We're live, pal.
There we go. Alrighty. So you were saying about the Iron Claw. You didn't when you were a kid. Like I think we all kind of knew about the Iron Claw,
Yeah,
or at
like
least some version.
my dad would always do that, like when we were wrestling around, and like I didn't know what that resembled at that time, and like now watching the movie, like I understand what it was, I understand what it means, like all these years later.
Yeah, no, it was so it's you were saying before we went live that before going into this movie you didn't really know that much about the Von Erichs because it was before our time, and I was the same way. I had heard I was tertiarily familiar with the Von Erich story, like listening to Jim Cornette and some Dark Side of the Ring, Tales of the Territory, stuff like that. So I knew vaguely who they were, but I didn't know the whole story, and I knew there was a lot of tragedy, but I didn't know who all they were. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, I did a bunch of research because that's what I do. I just nerd out like that, and I learned about the Von Erichs, and I'm like, man, to be a wrestling fan in Texas at that time, not just Texas, but I think being a wrestling fan in the 80s was just better than today.
Um, I do, I have a few icks.
Yeah, there's some icks. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not romanticizing and saying, "Oh, nothing bad was ever done in the 80s."
Well,
They
there's
were.
two people that were supposed to be in it, and I never seen them.
Who are you referring to?
Chavo was supposed to be the original Sheik. I never seen him. I
No,
don't remember seeing him.
he was in there. He was in the, you.
It
Okay,
had to
so
be like for a split second, either him wrestling him inside of the match, and it was like a quick move, and that was it.
it
Then
was.
I did I see. I was watching that work, so like I was like, I heard everything.
Yeah, and
I,
MJF was even faster. It was a real blink and you'll miss it sort of thing.
yeah, I didn't even notice MJF. That was
Yeah,
the other one. I was like, I didn't notice either one of them.
yeah, they were both in there. I saw both of them. Although Chavo, which I haven't seen Chavo in a number of years, so he looks a little different, but it's definitely Chavo. Yeah, they were both in there. But
I will have to either go back and watch again, or if like you come across that clip or know exactly what clip it is, you can clip it to me.
it's I forget who they're supposed to be wrestling, but it's Kevin Von Erich, played by Zac Efron, and then he's got a different tag team partner, which this
Is this
is
after the brothers had died?
this was before Kerry.
Okay.
I can't remember if Michael had died in the movie yet. No, I think Michael had recovered, but he hadn't died yet, but he couldn't wrestle. So this was
Yeah, that was time. Okay.
yeah. So I can't remember the name of the fake cousin now, but that's what. So that was a scene where it's actually really good filmmaking because if you know, which I'm gonna, you remember the name of the fake cousin, the fake Von Erich?
I think it started with an L, like Logan or
Was it
Luke or something.
Lance? Was it Lance Von Erich?
And see, I didn't know like talking to some of the guys that worked on
Lance.
it,
It
talked
was Lance Von Erich. Okay, cool, cool, cool.
and like now that you say that, it makes sense to me now because like they talked about how there was like a fake cousin, but like in the movie they didn't go into detail about this fake cousin at all. Like they didn't.
The reason I say it was good filmmaking though is because for those of us that are wrestling fans and that know, when you see that scene, all they do, there's no dialogue. It's just Zac Efron in a match with a tag team partner who's not going with the flow of the match. He's leaving him out. Those of us that know understand, oh, that's Lance Von Erich. But the movie, there was very little wasted motion in this movie It was very, very good. I have like a couple of minor nitpicks, but they're very minor.
I have one huge one.
Well, I think I know what it is, but so let me finish my point before we get off on a tangent. But for someone who's just watching the movie who maybe isn't a wrestling fan or doesn't know about the Von Erichs, that scene, all you need to know from a narrative perspective is that things are not right with the Von Erichs. And that scene still does that because you don't have to know it's a fake cousin, but you just know things are not copacetic. Things are not jiving.
And see, like that, like you just said, like I understood that like something wasn't right, and like now that you tell me that, and the guys that I talked to at work about wrestling, they were alive at that time and watched wrestling at that time, knew about the Von Erichs, and like he was explaining to me about like how there was like a fake cousin that his dad like adopted or whatever, and like now that you say that, it makes sense on why it wasn't working out.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, for those of us that knew, we were like, "Oh, it's Lance."
And I didn't know that, and it makes sense now.
But it doesn't. It's not a key detail that ruins the movie if you don't know that. That's what I'm saying. But it saves a lot of time because then you don't have to film a scene explaining, yeah, we're gonna, he's gonna be your tag team partner. He's like, but he's not family. He's like, well, we're gonna say he is, that kind of thing.
One thing I have to say, I didn't know their dad was such a dick.
I don't think he actually was though, but in the movie, definitely. Yeah, I think they took some liberties because for everything I've heard about Fritz von Erich was he was tough, but he was, very, very. My dog is being so stupid. Hey, get down. Leave it alone. Anyway, she's trying to eat my cat's food, and it's like I put it up high. She could just barely reach it if she really tried, but just leave it alone. You've already eaten. You're husky enough. Stop. Anyway, so yeah, from what I've heard about Fritz von Erich, he was very tough, but at the same time, he also cared deeply about his family. And I did, or maybe Jim Cornette said, maybe I read, I can't remember. What I do know is that it actually wasn't Kevin that found Kerry von Erich after he committed suicide. It was actually Fritz.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that part's like 100%.
No, it wasn't 100%. And I know that Kevin von Erich was not directly involved in the production, but he was, they asked for his blessing. And I guess his one requirement was, I want it to be clear how much I loved my brothers and how much we loved each other. And that movie.
Yeah.
That movie did it in spades. And then what's another? This is going to be a really random. This isn't a review. This is more of a discussion.
This is more about going all over the place.
Yeah. So this is just two friends talking about a movie we watched. That song that Mike did in the movie, that's a damn good song.
Especially for somebody that was kind of new to it and just like really starting to get into music.
It was a good song. I'm curious where it came from. I wonder if I don't think that was a song that was actually written by Mike von Erich, but it would be cool if it was. I think they probably just made it for the movie, but it was very good.
If I talk about a scene and like I get names mixed up, I'm still trying to learn them.
Yeah, they're all Von Erichs.
Von Erich number 5.
So the youngest brother?
That would be the youngest.
Okay, so that's Mike.
Yeah.
The red hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's my biggest ick, and you will probably agree. The Ric Flair that they use is probably the worst Ric Flair that you could ever have to impersonate. The one they used on Young Rock was 3 times better.
Yeah, and I even had my issues. Which, here's the thing, though. I give the movie a bit of a pass. Well, somewhat of a pass. Because it's really hard to get actors that can play wrestlers. Because, especially in the 80s, like this isn't a criticism, it was an observation. I will say I think I'm still right, but I'm not as right as I thought I was. Okay, so Jeremy Allen White, the actor who plays Kerry Von Erich, I'm a big fan of his, but I did say, I was like, he's a little small to play Kerry Von Erich. Now that was based on the trailer. In the actual movie, it's less distracting than I thought it was going to be, because Kerry was not the tallest, but he's a big dude. But like Zac Efron was really the only one that I would say had an 80s wrestler build. I mean, that dude is a freak. And it's so funny because I'm not going to say he took steroids or not. I don't know, but I'll say he looked as though he was getting it honestly looked like not so much how he looked, but how he was moving a lot of the time. It looked like he was wearing a bodysuit, because he wasn't quite, maybe he was just a little rigid in it. He seemed like he wasn't, not uncomfortable. What's the word I'm looking for? When you're just not moving as fluidly as you normally would.
I don't know. He's always been like, I've watched a lot of his movies, and he's always seemed like he's always been kind of jacked.
He's always been ripped, but in this movie he got jacked.
Yeah, he did the whole.
He went for size. But funny thing happened. He looked like a wrestler.
He did.
He looked like, not so much in the face, but you can't help that, but he looked like Kevin Von Erich.
He played the part right.
Yeah. I mean, Zac Efron, I never disliked Zac Efron, but I was indifferent to Zac Efron until I saw him in, I saw him in a couple of things, and every time I see him in a movie, I like him a little bit more. But I mean, he's very, very good, and he nailed it. He hit it out of the park.
You gotta think though, like a lot of the movies that I've seen him in, there's always been comedies.
Yeah, I know he can do comedy, but I know he can do drama too.
Well, this isn't like a very, it's drama, but it's like a very serious drama.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't really call it. I only say drama in that it's serious. That's what I mean. A dramatic role.
Yeah. Harley Race, he looked good, but I think I know somebody that could have played him even better.
Oh, we might agree on this, but yeah, I agree. So who?
Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah, but can Trevor Murdoch act?
He's a wrestler.
Well, I know. Really? We gonna go down that can of worms?
You gotta act to be able to be a wrestler.
It's a little different, but I agree. Although Harley Race is probably the best impersonator out of everybody they got. I agree. The Ric Flair was all. Although his promo was okay. You know who they should have gotten? They should have gotten AJ Styles. Because AJ Styles is a mean Ric Flair, and he's got the longer hair now. They could have just dyed it blonde or put a wig on him.
So just did Jay Lethal at that point.
I mean, it does make you wonder. Although, you want to talk about casting, check this out. You know who Pedro Pascal is, right? I'm just assuming you do.
I think I've heard the name, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so there are whispers, and please let this be true and happening. Because of the success of The Iron Claw.
I've heard this one already.
And yeah, there's talk of an Eddie Guerrero movie being made with Pedro Pascal starring as Eddie.
Well, I didn't hear that it was going to be an Eddie Guerrero movie. I heard it was just going to be a Guerrero family in general.
Maybe, but I had heard an Eddie Guerrero biopic.
Yeah, either way, I would be okay with that.
Dude, you should get Chavo to just play his dad. Because Chavo's an actor now. Chavo acts. And he looks a lot like his dad. Chavo Senior.
Why don't you just have Dominic play Eddie?
No, dude, I'm telling. Well, maybe for younger Eddie, but
Yes.
for older Eddie, dude, Pedro Pascal's a dead ringer. Just dye his hair a little bit darker.
Yeah,
He's got a similar facial structure, and the dude is athletic enough with some training. He can do it.
and Ray can still play Ray.
Yeah, Ray could still play Ray. Not young Ray though. But see, here's the thing though. I'm sure they can find. I would like to see Ray in the movie though, in some capacity, like maybe an older like luchador who so he can still be masked. But I would like to see that. I'd love to watch that movie, man. I think it would be great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they should make like this is going off like I think they should make more like realistic autobiographies about wrestling families. Like,
Well, wrestlers in general, because like, are you telling me that a biopic? Well, we already know from the show, but well, maybe not a biopic of The Rock because we've already done the show, but I mean, geez, I can think of a number. Like, I can think of tons of wrestlers, like a Ric Flair movie. Come on.
the Samoan Dynasty movie.
Yeah, well, that's how you get The Rock involved. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a hell of a story, man. That's why I love watching Young Rock because even though I'm sure they take some liberties, although Rock's pretty heavily involved, so
What I read, Rock was like the final okay or stuff.
well, I mean, it is his life, I would think so, but yeah, I mean, that show's great. I love it. Now, half the time I do kind of just chuckle at the impersonators they get because let's be honest, they're impersonators. And
Yeah,
it's funny how sometimes they tend to either get the look or the voice, but never both.
no, no.
Because the voice for Stone Cold, the look for Stone Cold, looks more like Gilbert than Stone Cold. But I don't know, the guy they got to play Adult Rock isn't bad.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the movie. Like, I just all around just Ric Flair just wasn't. He didn't have like that Ric Flair lisp or anything.
No, I agree. I didn't love the Ric Flair that they got, but it got the
And
point across.
at that time, Flair was still kind of built.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Losing, but that Flair was like '90s Flair, but with the '80s Flair hair.
Yeah. And you know what? I love that. I've said this before, but what cracks me up about Ric Flair is Ric Flair actually isn't very good at wooing. He's kind of got one of the worst woos I've ever heard, but everybody, even Charlotte, does. She does like a real woo, whereas Ric Flair is usually like woo, woo. It's like I don't know. It's funny to me.
Um, but I like not like going to this movie not knowing much about it. Like I really enjoyed this movie, and like honestly, I would watch it again.
Oh, I'm going to, yeah, because I'm gonna be doing a like real movie review for it on my channel, so that'll be coming relatively soon, like when in the next month or so.
Right.
Um, so
Honestly, I'd like to have a physical copy of it, but like knowing all this digital media stuff,
oh, you'll be able to
everything.
buy it.
Well, there's a Best Buy by me that like does no physical copies anymore of like movies or CDs or anything like that.
Oh no, man, yeah, it'll be available at Walmart or whatever. Best Buy's weird.
And now onto you were saying, sorry.
Oh, I would say my biggest gripe with this movie, which again is not that big of a gripe, is how late Kerry comes into the movie. Because I mean, you're pretty far in. We don't even see Kerry on screen until after Kevin's had his NWA title match against Harley Race, and then David, not yeah, David, yeah, and then David makes his debut in the ring, and they tag together. It's still even sometime after that where Kerry, we don't even see Kerry, and then we see him training, and we find out the Olympics got canceled. But he's mentioned prior, so it's kind of odd. But that's a pretty small gripe.
Just like I didn't know he was going to be in the Olympics either, or he was training to be in the
Yeah,
Olympics.
now that I didn't know. But once again, I complained about this in the trailer. There's so many scenes where people are eating, and you can't explain it to me. It's just I don't get it. Why?
explain to me why you're in your 20s running around in your whitey tidies around your parents.
Well, they're
At,
sheltered lads.
yeah, and I'm like,
There's a lot of how should we say? There's a lot of junk shots in this movie.
oh yeah, and I'm like, didn't want to see that.
I think it was an '80s thing.
I think it was too. But nonetheless, like the movie was great. I loved the movie.
I really dug the beginning where they start with Fritz's match in black and white.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't show Kevin's older brother actually dying because I don't think we need to see a child die. But I was not prepared for the end. Like I said before we went live, I was not ready for the end of the movie.
Well, the thing is like I didn't know they had an older brother, like until talking to like the guys at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like the movie I was watching, and they'd come out this and the other, and we just chit chat talk about it. Like I didn't know they had an older brother, and then once I got to the end, and like it's that scene where they're all there, but then like the past or the spirit world or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and then like we're all together as a family, and I'm like that was kind of sad.
Oh, it was real sad. And like I said, I was not prepared for that at the end. They really, so that's my other, this is probably my biggest gripe with the movie, is if you watch the end of it, which by the way, spoiler alert, although it's a biography, so it's not really spoiling it. The end of the movie kind of glorifies suicide in a way if you read too much into it. Because Kerry is miserable, and then he commits suicide, and then he's happy.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at first.
Like I said, if you read too much into it, it's no denying. I'm sure they were suffering, but
and then they get to the ending where it is, and then it's Kerry and his kids, and he's watching his kids play, and then he's crying, and then they come up and like ask him what's wrong, and then he explains, and then they're like, "I'll be your friends." Like that really hit me most, also because like I mean I have 2 young kids of my own.
I was gonna say that one hit me, and I don't even have kids, but the line that got me probably more than any of them is like, "Well, it's just that I used to be a brother, and now I'm not," and I'm just like, right in the feels.
Oh, it hit me so hard.
Right in the feels.
And like it hit me in a way of like I still have my brother and I still have my sisters, but like I never had an older sibling, and like Benji was that older sibling to me that I was close to. So like him being gone now, like it hit me hard too, because it's like I don't have that older sibling now. So it's like I mean that's where it hit me rough.
Yeah, and then the other thing this movie does is it kind of makes you believe in curses because, I mean, all that stuff is legit. Like what happened, as far as like what happened and ended up ultimately killing the Von Erichs that died. I mean, that all actually happened.
Yeah, I didn't like I knew one. I knew the one that was in WWF shot himself.
Yeah,
I knew
that's
that.
Kerry. Yep.
Yeah, that one was Kerry.
Yeah, Kerry went to the WWF as Texas Tornado.
Which one was the one at the end? Was that Kevin?
Kevin's the one that is still alive.
Okay. See, that's where I get all mixed up. I'm trying to.
Yeah, Kerry and Kevin get.
But yeah, like the Kerry one, I knew about that one, but like the Mike and the David situation, like I didn't know.
Well, and they didn't even have. There's one more brother. There's the youngest brother, Chris Von Erich, who they didn't even have in the movie for time constraints.
I didn't even know they had an even younger brother.
Yeah, Chris Von Erich. I believe it was Chris Von Erich. But yeah, so let's see. Fritz had Kevin, Kerry, David, Mike, and Chris. Fritz Von Erich had 6 sons and lost 5 of them. So I'm not a superstitious man. I'm a little bit superstitious, but I mean, and it's not even like 2 were suicide, if I can remember correctly. No, I think 3 were, but one one was kind of brought on by, because Mike Von Erich was kind of brought on, I believe, and I think a lot of other people believe too, that his was brought on more by brain damage from the toxic shock syndrome, because he's the one who had his shoulder separated, and then when he was having surgery, somehow, some way, he had toxic shock syndrome, and actually, I believe it caused brain damage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, I think partial of that was kind of pressure from his dad, also trying to like push him to get it back in the ring again, and he seemed like he didn't want. He was the one that kind of seemed like he didn't want to wrestle.
See, I think, and I could be wrong here, but if I remember correctly, Mike wanted to wrestle, but he just didn't have the natural aptitude that Kerry and Kevin and David had. He was by far the smallest Von Erich, but he just wanted to be with his brothers. That's, if I remember correctly. Chris also wanted to wrestle, but he just did not have the athletic ability for it. And I think they kind of molded Mike and Chris together.
Yeah.
And made it into one character, because I think it was Jim Cornette who was talking about once. He was like, from what I understand, Chris, really, really wanted to. And it's not like he was small. Like, he was shorter, but it's not like he didn't work out. Like, he, especially for his ability, he was jacked to the gills, but he just didn't have the physical ability to do it. Whereas I think Mike was just inexperienced, but I could be wrong.
So I know how Mike and Kerry died, but how did Chris and the youngest,
I believe,
one?
The oldest, the one who, Kevin's older brother.
It would have been the kid.
Yeah. So, from what I understand, he stepped over a trailer hitch and ended up getting electrocuted and then drowned in the snow because he fell face forward and lost consciousness.
Okay. See, wasn't sure that one. And then how did Chris? Because I didn't know Chris was a brother also.
Well, I'm going to look that up because I believe Chris committed suicide as well, but I'm going to check myself on that.
Got fact check that.
Well, because I don't want to speak out of. Yeah, Christopher Von Erich. Yeah, he shot himself.
Huh. See, I didn't even know about them too.
Yeah, he wasn't in the movie because I think they cut. Like I said, I think they kind of molded him and Mike together.
So I mean, this movie was like they did so much in 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. It did not feel like 2 hours and 5 minutes. I could have sat in there for at least another 30 to 40 minutes for sure.
I couldn't help me.
I'm wondering, it would be nice if there was a director's cut that delved a little bit more into that stuff. I understand why you wouldn't roll that out in a theater, but I think personally I would like to see something like that. But I really want that Eddie movie, man.
That would be such a nice movie.
I really want the Eddie Guerrero movie, or the Guerrero movie, I should say, because there's a lot to tell there.
There's a lot.
And now Eddie's son is in WWE. Oh
How dare you say that?
I'm kidding. That's what they're going for.
I know, but he's doing it well. Like,
I was gonna. Oh my god! Like you said, it's like, yeah, if you want to play a 20 to 25-year-old Eddie Guerrero, I mean, there's your man.
Think about it. 3 years ago or whatever, when we were kind of shitting on him at the time, like, hey, he's not that great, but like, look what he's doing now.
I mean, he's doing, and shame on me because sometimes I forget. Sometimes the performers are just doing what they're being told to do.
Exactly.
So I will eat my words on that one.
Hey, well, one thing I want to throw in there real quick, and that's not about the movie. I see something new.
Oh, you like
I see something new.
Yeah, the redesigned T-shirt, which has actually been up there for a while. I just hadn't gotten one yet.
I need to try to get me one. Or get me one.
I'm working on it. It's weird because they have certain kinds of T-shirts that I can get that size in, but for some reason I can't. For some reason I can't pick the right kind of shirt. I don't know. So I emailed them and said, "Hey, what shirt do I need to make this to get that size? Because this is getting annoying."
I'd like to get me one.
No, we'll get you one, buddy. We'll get you one. We'll get you one with your Peter Griffin visage.
Hey, I'm in Fortnite. You leave me alone.
No, I thought that's so funny. I love telling that story. So you notice in the shirt, his shirt is green because the original design was white. And when I sent you the proof just to get you to sign off on it, you and I thought the same thing. But I was like, I think I'm gonna have her change the shirt color, but let me just send it to him. And you were like, can we please change the shirt color? And I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who noticed. Yes, we'll change the shirt color. So otherwise, everybody's if you had round glasses on in the image too.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, Lois. Duty. Oh Christ.
All around. I mean, I really enjoyed the movie for like a wrestling movie for somebody coming in not really knowing any kind of history about the Von Erichs other than like Kerry being his Texas Tornado. Like that's the only knowledge I had of the Von Erichs. Like I knew they were a big thing, but like I only know of Kerry because of Texas Tornado and WWE or WWF.
Yeah, and actually the wrestling I was pleased at the amount of wrestling that was in the movie. They did not wrestle, you know what I mean? There was a lot of wrestling as there should be. It's a movie about wrestlers. And I was told that when you saw the Von Erichs wrestling, it was the actors. They weren't stunt doubling that.
And I did see a snippet of something where who was it? Kevin got interviewed and he was doing a frog splash from the top rope. And I guess one time they did it after they cut, one of the guys on the outside that was an actor said, "Man, that boy can jump."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of really subtle things in this movie. Like you had Kevin Von Erich wrestling without boots. You know, he wrestled barefoot, so that was the thing.
Like when Kerry went out to ride the motorcycle and like he knew something was wrong, and then the whole scene just changed and it was Kerry going through with his crutches and like you notice his leg and it's like I knew about that part, but like if you didn't know that's what it led to, then you didn't know.
Exactly. And which is funny because I did know and I was like, ooh, how are they going to handle that? For those who don't know, when Kerry went to the WWF, he was wrestling with a prosthetic foot.
Yeah,
and,
that scene.
And and nobody knew until after, way after.
So like that the scene where like he was in WWF and he won IC title should have came after the motorcycle accident, but that's just not the way they lined it up.
Well, no, they did. He had the motorcycle accident after he won the NWA title.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Yeah, because I remember, so I'm actually mad at myself. So I knew they were setting up for the NWA title. I thought I had some time. I actually went to pee. And I didn't come back until he was at the kitchen table looking at the belt. And I went, fuck, I missed it.
No.
But I went back and watched the original match. And that's what I mean, man.
I didn't know Mike died because of a ruptured intestines.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, that like over there in Japan, like they wrestle hardcore, so I can expect it.
I mean, nobody. And here's the thing: to this day, nobody knows what caused it. There at this time there was a lot of speculations about a drug overdose, but I guess at this point, all the evidence does actually point to a ruptured intestine from a I forget what the disease is, but yeah. So you're right. It probably. Well, no, because he was feeling ill before he went to Japan. So he was having.
He went over Japan, but he came back for the wedding.
Right, but then he went back.
Yeah, and when he went back is when he passed away in his hotel.
Yep, exactly.
Kevin was like, "Hey, you need to go get checked out," and like he didn't listen.
I see. That's something I don't know. I don't know if that conversation actually happened or not. I'm not sure. It may have. It may haven't.
Now, is any of Kevin's kids still alive then?
Oh yeah, he's got two sons, and okay, so I'm trying to remember what Lacey Von Erich's uh, lineage is. So I'm gonna look that up real quick. Oh, okay, so she's Kerry's daughter. I didn't know Kerry had a daughter.
I didn't know Kerry had a kid either.
Yeah. So Lacey Von Erich is Kerry Von Erich's daughter, but I think she's retired.
Was she a wrestler too then?
Yeah, she did. I'm trying to see. Yes. Hang on. Let's see.
That would have had to been during like the mid-90s.
Oh no. This is relatively new. Back at least in 2010, because she wrestled in TNA for a while.
Huh.
Okay, so she.
Did she actually go under Von Erich when she wrestled?
Yeah, she was Lacey Von Erich. It looks like I want to say at some point I saw her mentioned. I could be wrong though in WWE, but it looks like she was in. Hang on. She was part of the Beautiful People. No. Yeah, she aligned herself with the Beautiful People. Wrestlicious. Okay, World Wrestling Entertainment 2007. She was in FCW and she made an appearance at WrestleMania 25. Oh, where the Von Erich family was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let's see, Lacey Von Erich. So yeah, brief stint in the WWE developmental system, Independence, and then TNA. She departed from TNA in 2010, and then maybe she never officially retired, but the last thing they talk about was November 2010.
Hmm. The more you know.
The more you know. Anywho, so yeah, but Kevin does have two sons, and they do wrestle, but I don't think they appeared recently on AEW television, but that was to promote the Iron Claw.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I know their real last names aren't Von Erichs though, because Kevin didn't want them to have the Von Erich name.
I think it's Atkinson
Yeah.
is their actual last name, but they do wrestle as Von Erichs.
Okay.
I see. I don't know if that was if that was a legit conversation, or if that was just for the movie.
Well, the thing is like watching the movie, like I can see Kevin saying that because like how out of wrestling he was getting, and like then he sold the company, and then like I could see that, like I could picture that actually happening, but like we don't actually know that.
Oh yeah, I could. It was believable for sure. I could see it. Most definitely. I'm trying to think. But yeah, Jeremy Allen White, I saw more Kerry Von Erich as I was actually watching the movie as opposed to the trailer.
Yeah.
And that's really true for everybody, because there are certain moments where I saw Zac Efron, but that was very few and far between. I always say the mark of a great performance is when you have a well-known actor, but as I'm watching the movie, I don't see Zac Efron playing a wrestler. I see, in terms of my mind, I'm seeing Kevin, Kerry, and David Von Erich.
Yeah.
Fritz, I can't remember his name. The actor who played Fritz is he did good, but I could think of one other actor that I thought might have been a slightly better Fritz Von Erich, and his name, which I'm ashamed because I'm actually a fan of his. I'm just blowing it. So hold tight. I need to look up his name. Stephen Lang. He did you watch Avatar, the first one?
Yeah.
Quaritch, the bad general dude.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He
Okay.
would
I know that now.
he would have made a hell of a Fritz von Erich.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I think.
the actor who played him did a very very good job.
Well, I think the actor that played the Freebirds also did a
Yeah,
really
they
good.
were good. Now, remind me, would that have been no? Okay, no, I'm the wait. Did Jim Cornette manage the Freebirds, or was that just the Rock and Roll Express?
I think he was with the Freebirds for like a slight stint.
Yeah, but I don't think it was when I because Jim's talked about the Texas territory before, but I don't know what he was doing when he was there. So maybe he was managing the Freebirds.
See, I'm not sure. That's
I'd
what I'm.
I'd have to look it up, and it's going to take a long time to look something like that up. But I was kind of like, it would have been nice to see the tennis racket make an appearance.
Oh, yeah. The Tish Racket scene would have been fun to watch.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So how was though the because I missed it. How was the Kerry versus Flair match for the NWA title in the movie?
See, I don't. I never watched the actual match from back then, so like, I honestly I didn't really understand the match. Like, Kevin kind of just went like, Flair was doing his thing, and then the Kevin just kind of went haywire, and then he put the claw on him, and then Flair was bleeding. And I'm like, how did Flair?
Oh no, I saw that match. Yeah, that didn't. So I'm glad you said that because that brought up another sort of criticism I had of the movie, which was it never really decided if wrestling was fake or real in this movie because it never. Which I think I understand what they were thinking because they never ever actually came out and said, "Yeah, this is fake." Because I actually like that scene when Kevin is having dinner with his the woman who would become his wife for the first time. She even said, she was like, "Isn't it?" She even said, "Isn't it all fake?" And he said, "Fake." And she said, "Well, sorry about that." And then she said, "Well, predetermined." And then he said, "Look," and he goes into the whole spiel about how, the title is a reward. So if I go out there and do the best job in the ring, then the promoter, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he basically said she was right without saying she was right. You know what I mean? And then there are moments in the movie like when Fritz is giving him grief for being slow getting up when he had the Harley race match, Kevin. And which this was, I'm not criticizing the scene because, again, Zac Efron did phenomenal job acting. Because, again, that's when wrestling trade. It's like, oh, is he hurt or is he selling? I didn't
Yeah,
know. Uh, and then, but they're acting like he's actually fighting for the title, but then at the same time, they acknowledge that he's not. Like, after that Flair match, they're making it seem like Kevin laid into it too hard and they actually had to break it up. But then Flair comes back there and is like, man, that was awesome.
yeah. And he's like, you can have a rematch anytime.
And I'm like, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But everybody's like, what happened out there? And I'm like, what do you mean? Was he supposed to win? Like, I don't get it.
That's what I didn't understand either. And they're like, Flair started like randomly bleeding, which I guess that could pull the aspect of him doing a claw, making his head bleed from it. But like,
But got Flair got juice all the time.
yeah,
Like I'm sure it was part of that. That's what I'm saying. It's like, and this might only affect wrestling fans, but it's like I'm watching a scene like that, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute, did he screw up or was that part of the match? Because Flair's acting like it was part of the match, which I believe because I would believe that the deal with the NWA was, yeah, Kevin can win the match, but he's got to get disqualified so Flair keeps the title. But then Fritz is acting like he did something wrong, and I'm like, no. If the NWA tells you you beat our champ, but you get DQ'd, then Kevin did exactly what he was supposed to do. I was cornfoozled.
yeah, it's pretty cornfused too.
Oh, it was real cornfoozled. Now I did like the scene where Kevin's trying to do the interview and he keeps tripping it up.
Oh my gosh. Who was in there? Was it David that was in there?
David was in there with them. Yeah, which apparently David was the talker, Kevin was the athlete, but Kerry had just like the body and the charisma.
Yeah.
So I guess if you put all three of them together, you would have had the perfect wrestler. So basically, if you put all of them together, you would have had John Cena.
Yeah, they would have had a Super Cena.
Super Cena.
They just formed together like Dragon Ball Z.
Super Cena. Which, speaking of Cena, Cena's another really good actor. He really surprised me with the comedy, though, because Cena's funny as shit.
Yeah. Like Cena's done some things in movies like I never expect like this Cena to do.
Oh, have you seen Blockers?
I have not yet.
Oh my god. It's one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and I'm not going to ruin it for you because by the way, you can watch it the same way you watch The Iron Claw.
Okay.
So there's a scene in the movie, which if for those of you who haven't seen it, I promise I'm not ruining it for you because you will still laugh your asses off. Because you do see the joke coming a mile away. It's still funny. So the plot of the movie Blockers is there are three girls that have been friends since they were like in grade school. And it's their senior year. They're going to prom together, and they all decide that they're going to lose their virginity on prom night. John Cena plays one of these girls' fathers. And their parents, three of their parents, so it's one girl's mom and then the other two girls, their dads, decide they're going to stop them. And at one point, the girls go to a party after prom, and the parents are trying to get in, but they're all like 40s, so they're being told, no, you're not coming in. And they're like, no, come on, we're totally kids. And he's like, fine, we'll let you in if you can beat us in a chugging contest. And then Cena's just like, bring it. And they're like, and then they're like, no, we're going to butt chug.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that one. That's the movie I was going to bring up to you, but I know that's what it's called, and I'm like,
that's
Cena
it.
Butt chugging? I was like, that is hilarious.
Oh my god! And then the face he makes when he's just like,
I have seen that.
cops.
I have.
Dude, okay, I have to tell it. Like, I'll laugh often, but it's pretty rare that something catches me off guard to the point where I can't control myself. I'm in the theater, right, watching this movie. And I've only gone to watch this movie because I know Cena's in it, and by this point I know Cena's funny. So at the very least, I'm gonna get laughs out of Cena. That scene happens, and I fall out of my chair. It hurts to breathe because I'm laughing so hard. It just was not expecting it. And to this day, when I watch that movie, I still laugh out loud because it just kills me. I don't know why I find it so funny. Well, I do because it's Cena. But and then the other part that makes me laugh is when the car explodes and Cena's the one who's like overselling. Gets me every time. I'd love to see Cena and Efron do a movie together. That'd be hilarious.
That would be.
That'd be some funny. Well, we saw We saw Efron and The Rock do a movie together, and that was funny. That was much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So before I have to go, let's talk a little bit of actual wrestling.
Okay, but before you do that, when do you have to go?
9:45.
Okay, so before we do that, Brian, you know what holiday's coming up, right? You're a married man. You know what's up. Did you forget?
I know what that day's coming up.
What day is it, Brian?
It's Valentine's Day.
Yes, sir, and you need to get your wife a gift, I bet.
I probably should.
Well, I've got you covered, buddy, because Stevie Wicks has an entire line of Valentine's Day candles and candle sets that you can get your significant other so you can get your yearly hanky-panky on Valentine's Day, including the little piece of my heart candle set, which the chicks love that one, or you can get her the big one, the big 3-wick candle, and everything in between. She'll love you forever. It'll be the best candle you ever get her. Go ahead and order yours now so you're taken care of. And if you use promo code DOWN at checkout, you save 10% off your entire order. So get on to steviewix.com today. That's STEVIEWIX.com. I can't spell. And the link is in the description below. But okay.
Dig yourself out of a hole today.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Buy an extra one in case you ever get in the doghouse. So anyway, you were going to talk some actual wrestling. I knew you were going to disappoint me or put me in a bad mood.
What?
Well, are we talking AEW or WWE?
All around wrestling. There's a few things I want to hit on AEW, but it's just all around wrestling. So let's just get the bad juju out first. And I don't really find it too bad, I guess.
Really? You didn't think that the culmination of that Devil storyline was just the biggest, as Jim Cornette would say, popcorn fart in the history of pro wrestling? And I'm not sure. Didn't we call that?
I mean, we called it was going to be Adam. Hold on. Didn't I call
Okay,
that
okay,
one?
I'll give you that. Didn't you
I called that one months ago off of old spot.
I think we actually, at separate times, I think we called every bit of that because I know at one point I said, well, Roderick Strong and Adam Cole are obviously working together.
I think you called that stuff out.
Yeah, I called that, and then at one point I said, well, it's Wardlow. And it turns out we were right 3 different ways.
Yeah, so like you called that stuff out. That I will give you. But the Adam Cole turn, the way it happened, I called that one.
Well, and I agreed with you because I said that's the only thing they can do.
But like I called it being Adam Cole, but I also thought it could have been like I knew it was Adam Cole, but initially I didn't think it was Adam Cole underneath the mask. I really thought it was Britt Baker.
Oh, that would have been funny.
I think it would have been better if it was Britt.
Well, then they can incorporate Britt Baker, and actually it would have given her something to do.
But like, why? Yeah, I mean, it would have given her something to do, and I think it would have done better if it was Britt because like, you still could have had Britt Baker being with like Wardlow and Roger Strong and all them, the Kingdom or whatever they're called, and then like, you still have Adam Cole.
Oh, I see what you mean. So like Britt's jealous.
Yeah, like Britt's jealous, but in the background, like Adam Cole's still working with the Devil.
I got you. Okay. That would have been the cover. You took my best friend away from me.
Yes.
Or not my best friend. You took my boyfriend away from me.
Yeah, but like I see why they did it because like
I guess
MJF has been, I guess, hurt for the past couple weeks.
Correct. I'm aware of that. But here's the thing. It basically invalidates. Okay, so so we're gonna step out of wrestling for a hot second, and I was thinking about this today, so I'm glad you brought that up again. You've done that like 3 times this episode, so thank you. From a storytelling perspective, MJF's face turn is now completely wasted, and here's why.
Well, that's only if he stays with AEW because like his contract's up. He hasn't wrote a contract. Who knows where he's going to go?
No, is his contract up? I had heard that it wasn't.
It's either up or supposed to be up very, very soon.
I'll be honest, I don't know this. He probably has an extension on his contract. I'm saying this based upon how they're booking this. Yeah. I'm guessing he probably has an extension. The AEW has the option or an optional extension on his contract, which is probably for another 2 years. So if Tony Khan says, yes, I want to exercise this extension, he might be under contract for another 2 years. Because there was another wrestler, I can't remember who, that had that extension as well. So it's like AEW can opt to have that extension, or they can say, now we're going to pass, and then you just don't renew your contract.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It would be curious, although I guess it would kind of make sense to make MJF look like an idiot on his way out if he's not going to re-sign. But I'll be honest, if I'm MJF, I wouldn't go to WWE right now.
No, I think it'd be too soon too.
He's got more stuff that he can do. Even though AEW's booking is horrendous, he is a top guy there, and he still has a lot he can do before he's exhausted his top guy possibilities. So believe it or not, yes, if I were him, I would stay in AEW at least for another couple of years. Now, the one advantage for him going to WWE now would be assuming, which again, Vince isn't in charge anymore, so I think WWE's philosophy of acting like wrestling is a vacuum is going to go away, at least to a certain extent. If he could get in there and do a program with Punk or Cody right out of the gate, I think that could set him up well enough in WWE to differentiate him from everybody else. But if they're not going to do that, I agree with you. I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle. And it's funny, because of his age, he might go to NXT, but I think for MJF, that would be a mistake.
Yeah.
I think, well, not a mistake, but I think it would be a waste of his time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think he should stay in AEW at least for a little while longer. And who knows? AEW also needs MJF, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Khan's just like, well, you know that pile of money you were asking for? Well, here you go. Well, and AEW is negotiating a television deal right now.
I know.
So, I don't think he'd get rid of MJF right now.
Yeah. The reviews haven't really been there.
Well, gee, imagine that. Wait, who? Well, not just us. Everyone who's watched wrestling for more than a year has said, let's see, when Warner Brothers Discovery literally asks you to create another wrestling program so you can showcase CM Punk more, and then you fire the person that you created a television show for, yeah. And then here's the funny thing. I don't know if this is true, but I also heard that the CW was interested in picking up Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. And that Tony Khan told them no because he wanted to stay loyal to Warner Brothers Discovery.
Wow.
And I'm just like, well, if the rumors are to be believed, they're talking to your competition.
Yeah.
Which, and I guess here's what I would have done if I was Tony Khan, and assuming that was true, is say, you know what, CW, I'd love to discuss this more with you. Send over your offer, and then in that meantime, I would talk to Warner Brothers Discovery and say, hey, look, CW wants to pick up my other wrestling program. Right now it's connected, but it doesn't have to be. And in fact, I think I would prefer an independent Ring of Honor. At least showcasing it as independent. But we just go to Warner Brothers and say, hey, look, they want to put this show on. I wanted to offer it to you guys first. If you're not interested, CW wants it. Wouldn't this be a fucker? So AEW programming is on TNT TBS. The CW is a network. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the CW had gotten Ring of Honor and then Ring of Honor got better ratings than AEW?
Oh, I would die.
Just not even from a programming standpoint, from a numbers game, it's kind of likely because, again, the CW is a free channel that you get over the air.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't even watch antenna television anymore, so that might have been true. That might have been more true in like 2008, 2010 even. Now, I don't think it would make much of a difference, to be honest. But, I mean, a network is a network is a network.
Yeah. So how about Adam Copeland winning the TNT title and then losing it all within 5 minutes?
I'm not gonna lie. I haven't actually watched an episode of wrestling in months. I've kind of sort of kept up with the goings on because I've been super busy and I've had almost no desire to watch AEW television because it's.
I mean, I just watch highlights here and there, but like Edge won it. They had a pretty decent match, him and Christian, and Edge won it. Then Kill Switch, as they call him now, Luchasaurus. They've been calling him Kill Switch for the last couple weeks.
God.
Um,
He has a name and a face.
they've been calling him Kill Switch or Kill Shot. Kill Shot or Kill Switch, one of the two. He had won some kind of contract to face for the TNT title, I guess. And he went to cash it in to beat Edge, Adam Copeland. And Christian looked at him and said, "No, let me have this." Christian took it, wrote his name on it, and then pinned and beat Adam Copeland back for the title.
What a really overly complicated and contrived way to make Christian Cage the actual TNT champion.
Yeah.
Tony Khan needs to be stopped. I'm being serious. He's and I don't want this to happen. He's going to kill AEW. I mean, look at the ratings, and they can throw all the excuses and say it's great as much as they want, but it's not. The ratings are noticeably down. And it's not hard. You still have a great roster, even though you've pissed away certain parts of said roster. You still have it. When's the last time FTR was on TV? When's the last time Britt Baker was on TV? Adam Cole is still injured.
You have a point.
I mean, it's like he has... It's the most frustrating thing, and I've been there. It's like watching somebody who has all the ingredients to have a great product or a great company or a great idea, and they literally misuse every piece of it. It's even worse than, watching somebody who doesn't have a lot to work with, but they make the best with what they have, and the only reason it's not better is because they don't have the tools. It's 10 times more frustrating than that because they have the tools and they just choose to misuse them all. Like, why did you sign Roderick Strong? Why? To do this? Why is Adam Cole taking up television time when he can't wrestle yet? I'm not dogging on Adam Cole, but I mean, the fact remains, he's injured. He cannot wrestle. And yet his girlfriend, or I don't know if they're engaged, his partner, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, who can wrestle, and at one time was the most over woman in the company, in the women's division, is not on television, but by God, you know who is? Riho!
Now, jumping ships to WWE now. Finish her out.
Oh, so I thought you were talking about Riho, and I'm like, no, she's not.
No.
They don't have a children's division yet.
Things become good over there, in my opinion.
Ooh, things got real good over there real fast.
Especially on day one. I mean, we've seen the WWE champion come out. Gender my balls.
Which I love the fact that I watched that, and I give the AEW social media managers grief a lot, but I'm like they had crowd shots of showing people that were actually surprised, and I'm like, really? You found the one person who thinks it's all real? Like,
The crowd just made me want to say one last thing about AEW. So there was a shot of a guy holding up a poster board at AEW, and it says, "I just got out of coma. I came here to see CM Punk." And this is at a recent event. I'm like, that is so great. That is so great.
Oh my God. I'm actually disappointed in the AEW fan base. Where are the CM Punk chants?
No, they've been too worried about that Chris Jericho thing going on.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, I'm not even gonna touch on that because
that's a whole episode in itself.
I'm not defending Chris Jericho, but I think that... Well, wait, which part are you talking about?
The whole NDA thing or whatever's going on with that girl.
Okay, so you are talking about the Kylie Ray thing. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'd be more inclined to believe it if Kylie Ray if she had only left AEW that way. I'd be more inclined to believe it. However, she's done that in at least one other company because I think she did the same thing in Impact. I'm not sure though. I mean, I don't know enough. It may very well be true. I don't know. I think if it is true, it needs to come out. But apparently, I don't know how it can come out if NDAs were signed by Kylie Ray. I mean,
I'm not sure either.
I don't know. And I saw somebody had a Chris Jericho NDA signed too. I can't remember what it said, but that seemed kind of funny. But, you know, going back where the wrestling is good.
The Rock name dropping Roman like that.
Yeah, which unfortunately.
Okay, here's my thing. Here's the couple of guys that talk to at work. We talk about that same thing, and they're like, but Roman has the belt. Okay. We also have the Saudi shows, which are big things to us now. Like, they are the next WrestleMania to us. I mean, that's the way they've been pushing it.
I mean, yeah, they're certainly marketing them that way, yes.
Yeah. But, like, who's to say Roman doesn't lose the belt before Mania or the Saudi show, the next Saudi show, and then faces The Rock? Or who's to say he doesn't face The Rock, but it's not for the title?
Because then it's pointless. I see what you're saying, and even if that's true, like let's be real here. If you want to tell this story the right way, it's got to be Cody winning the belt at WrestleMania. It's got to be.
It's got to be. And I think that's the way it's going to go.
It has to.
It's going to be Cody Roman night 2. It's going to be Seth Punk night 1.
Yep, I'm totally cool with that. I'm fine with that. Actually, it'd be funny. It'd be nice to see Cena Punk again. One more time.
Well, see, Punk did say if he were to retire, he'd want it by CM Punk or by Cena.
Yeah, and see, it's funny how the universe works sometimes. But you got to go, don't you?
Unfortunately.
Bollocks. Okay, well, we'll tell you what. Maybe next time we'll just talk about. We'll just do another wrestling update because it'll incentivize me to watch wrestling like a good boy. So maybe we'll do that in 2 weeks. We'll just do another wrestling recap episode.
Why don't we do this? Are you free Thursday?
I should be, yeah.
Maybe in the graces of God, we can get us a little session in, even if it's half an hour, 45 minutes. And it can be the bitch talk sessions.
There we go, just bitching.
We can do a quick 30, 45-minute session, and we'll go do like a little rundown like we were just doing of what's going on with wrestling right now.
There you go, wrestling recap. I like it.
Because I'll be free around the same time, 8:30.
Let's do it.
All right.
Alrighty, you go to work, and remember, everyone, get your Stevie Wicks candles. Go ahead and get your Valentine's Day taken care of. And St. Patrick's Day candles are coming too, so do that. But thank you for enjoying this episode of Down the Middle. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about it, especially if they're wrestling fans, because we just like to have a conversation amongst friends talking about wrestling. But I will leave you with this. Go watch The Iron Claw. It is a fantastic movie. Whether or not you're a fan of the Von Erichs or don't know that much about them, it's a wonderful movie, and please give us that Eddie Guerrero movie. But until next time, this has been Down the Middle, and we'll see you on